Currently, the US Congress has been speaking to State Department on matters relating to Pakistan and Afghanistan under its South Asia strategy enhancement. I don't know why they call it South Asia, because there's nothing in it for Pakistan but more trouble, more and do more, and frankly speaking, there's no objective for what Pakistan will achieve by going this way. The threat of long ago by Armitage seems to exist, even though he's no longer in government even now. It was a rather pathetic statement by the Pakistan government on how they only seek to receive the monies they have spent on America. Well, I don't think they should wait for that. It isn't going to happen. There is even a more pathetic statement by Hassan Iqbal in New York, in Washington, where he has said that the Americans have hinted in giving us aid, economic aid. I don't know who's made him a minister or where his intelligence comes from, because very simply, if the Americans have wanted, and I've been a part of those moves, to do away with the cotton quota system for Pakistan, we can easily double our income from our own production with the United States if they open up to us completely. That being said, what they answer back is by saying we don't open the cotton trade because it will affect our economy and our local economy. Hurrah! Their electronics trade is open to the world. Taiwan makes a lot of parts, so does China and many other countries, which is 40% gross of all trade in the world. And cotton and textiles, which does not extend to more than 3% of all trade in the world, of which Pakistan might be 0.01%. By taking away quotas, they will harm their local cotton interests. Highly unlikely. Pakistan's total trade with them would not be in excess of $5 to $8 to $10 billion. Even if you double it, it's not a scratch on America's facade. So rather than talk of economic aid, just open up your restrictions, adhere to World Trade Organization recommendations that you have made, free trade and whatnot, and let's get on with it. But the patheticness of how our ministers, one by one, go and send back laurels to Pakistan of how they are getting the Americans to hint at restoration of aid to Pakistan. Frankly, I think the time has come to say openly and categorically, we do not want any aid. If you want to talk substantively on what is to happen with Pakistan vis-a-vis the Afghan war, Afghan-American war, it's not a Pakistan war. Well then, this is what it'll cost to do your bidding, and now we don't believe in the CSF, you will have to pay out front for whatever you want to use, because we have seen that you have stopped payments to us or reimbursements to us for what we've already spent by your will and instruction. So let us be absolutely clear. We're only fooling ourselves. They're not going to change a policy. They've already created a policy with India in which Tillerson and Mattis will be going on a 2+2 foray next month into India. They've already made their bed. They have decided Afghanistan is to be an extension of the Indian arm. Whether it is used to scratch the underbelly of Russia or China remains to be seen, but I've been saying it many times over, that this is going to be the underbelly soft spot that they need. And it's not going to change. And it's not going to change for Pakistan either. You're doing nothing substantive on the collaterals in CPEC. We should be moving fast ahead to try and establish industrial zones and move ahead. We're not doing that. In fact, we ought to realize that as far as Afghanistan is concerned, look at the statements coming out from the recent Congress statements. One of the senators said, suggesting a withdrawal from Afghanistan, said, "We shouldn't be nation building. We're not very good at it." To which State Department replied, "Yes, there isn't a military solution in Afghanistan." Have you noticed in the entire hearings nothing was said of what they're going to do with 3 or 4 million Afghan refugees in Pakistan and how to take them back? Because they've said earlier, if they come back, there will be a collapse in the Afghan government, because the Afghan government can't even afford to pay a month's salary to all its employed forces and security forces in Afghanistan. This is despite everything being done by the Americans for security. So, if you haven't understood, you should understand it now. India has contributed 3 billion. It's going to be India's graveyard in Afghanistan as well. Afghanistan needs nothing less than 10 to 15 billion as a capital input. And then they will need a lot of money on a daily basis to keep things going. And I don't think India is about to help much more in that particular field. So, what is the situation? The Americans have a limited amount of money to spend there. The Indians will not. And a statement of State Department to Congress. The US intends to hold Pakistan accountable for its failure to deny sanctuaries to militant proxies. For God's sakes, even if they're militant proxies, we have said continuously, you can see a cockroach crawling on the ground with your satellite networks. Why don't you warn us if you see anyone coming from our side in a threatening form, so we can take care of them before they leave our borders, if they are. If. You never do, and the Afghans never do, and nobody's ever answered this question. The truth of the matter is, if 40 to 60% of Afghanistan is controlled by the Taliban or whoever, don't forget that means that the Afghan government only controls the remainder. You're spending $1 trillion you've spent $1 trillion and spending several $billion a year to keep it going. Why are you blaming us? Why do you want to hold us accountable? I think the American Audit Department ought to hold its government responsible for the colossal waste of money in Afghanistan without seemingly an objective. Strategic depth or strategic requirement, they call it. Well, we don't have any question to argue with that. But at the same time, we hear of, we have a 4-point program now to change things in Afghanistan. And to change things in Afghanistan, everything hinges on threatening what they call remnants of the Taliban in Pakistan. For God's sakes, what about those who attack us constantly, killing across the borders with impunity from there to here? Frankly, the Taliban is the Taliban. You yourself say there's no good Taliban or bad Taliban. Well, then if there's no good and bad, there's no distinction between the two. What comes and attacks us is bad, what goes and attacks you is bad. But I think they're using whichever side of the border they find convenient. It has nothing to do with Pakistan, it has nothing. You can keep cajoling Pakistan and browbeating its intelligence forces. But the truth of the matter is, with everything in the world at your command, why can't you see through what is happening where? And I say, even beyond that, the promise of restoring US assistance to Pakistan, I think it's a shame for this country to fall into that particular aspect. I don't think it has done anything for Pakistan. It has only helped. I thought they've decided no more opioid usage in America. Do this for your friends as well. No more opiates to be forwarded to the people to make them believe that they're on support systems. I think that the Congress report is very adequate. Clear policy, work with India to promote economic growth and stability in Afghanistan. But they won't hold India responsible, they'll hold us accountable. And enlist the support of regional actors. Iran won't go with you. The Central Asian republics, I think, have mountains in between them and Afghanistan to the degree it becomes very difficult to do very much. Why don't you include Russia and China? They're regional actors. And what about Pakistan? So I don't think that that statement is about to work in a hurry. And you intend to do this through a political, fiscal and military sustainable model. 16 years approved. Remember when you started off, you spoke of how you will win the minds of the Afghans through development, through promotions, etc. That hasn't happened then. I don't see it happening now. And in this, you find you must encourage restraint in Pakistan's nuclear weapons program and to stop them falling in the hands of terrorists. Well, you yourself have certified it won't happen because you have helped them build a system which will stop it from happening. And by the grace of God, in the last 20 years of its existence, it has not happened. And I'm not at all sure that anything like that would happen. And you yourself have said that your presence in Afghanistan remains a recruiting mechanism for the Taliban. So why are you encouraging this? I'm not sure. But what is sure is, stop blaming Pakistan. You're still very lucky the Pakistan government doesn't understand. You flout its customs laws, its sovereignty, than anything else at will. All for the betterment of the Afghans, of which we possess a sizable portion in Pakistan, which you won't take back. It is also sad that India is playing this ridiculous game in its own shallow beliefs that this pleases the Americans. I don't think South Asia as a united or comprehensive unit sadly no longer remains something that will ever happen. Kashmir has been the difficult position, it will remain as it is. The Indians will never negotiate even a hair of it away. I think that there's a lot in what Mr. Bhutto and Indira Gandhi did. We don't seem to have even held on to that. So, please be aware, nothing is going to change. It'll only get worse. Stop making the public fools to believing America is coming with a huge bag of goodies. on Christmas. Christmas is always a very long time away. Try and build up CPEX with all the hype you gave it. Try and get the oil pipeline working for China so the payments start coming in. Try to get industrialization to move further. We might be able to do something better. You have never been more than an ally to NATO. Well, I think India is going to have a far greater cooperation, and the axis of America, India, and Israel has its own designs for this area. Recognize it for God's sake. Understand what is being done with you. Understand even now that you are only there for lighting the pathway. Nothing more, nothing less. And no matter what you do, remember this as a cardinal principle, no matter what you do, you will not be given credit for it. All that we have done does not deserve mention. All that we have done does not give you any solace, well then, nothing more can happen. Thank you.